does it mean to be spiritually aligned in motherhood? That's a great question. I'm so glad you asked. I'm Brianna and I am a life coach, and I also really love talking about spirituality and God and religion. So I decided to bring those two things together and help mothers become spiritually aligned through coaching. So I think the first question I have to ask is, or answer is, what does it mean to be spiritually aligned? I haven't written any of this down because I think I do better like live. So just coming from the heart, being spiritually aligned in motherhood is first being connected to God or your source or the creator, however you think of that source of life and help and guidance, like however you think of that, being connected to that. And then also being connected to your purpose, which might also include being in pursuit of your purpose. And in doing so, you are pulled along and developed in ways that will help you to fulfill the responsibilities of being a mother and everything else. Because if you're connected to both of those things, it's like the purpose is the end goal and the creator is the beginning, then you're going to be developed in such a way that helps you to manage all of the other responsibilities that come with that. That includes getting over and healing from the elements of yourself that can make motherhood more difficult, that would get in the way of you appearing in your final form. So how does one become spiritually aligned? It's going to vary person to person, but I think it starts with an understanding that at the essence of you, the true essence of you, is something that is deeper and higher than religion, than New Age, the law of attraction. It's higher and deeper than that. It is the part of you that existed before any of those things were put into words. But when you're connected to that element, or you are aware of that element of yourself, then you become aware that you're being propelled in the direction that you focus. So in understanding this, you also understand that the teachers and the helpers are going to show up as you progress. Because some people are stuck at, this is what it means to be a biblical mother or wife. And they don't know what it means for them to be their best self, their truest self. They don't know what it means for them to transcend. And so they get stuck trying to fit into this idea that's not really based on who they really are. Or some people are looking at society and what society says about women and motherhood, and that's what informs them. That's what they try to be like. But they don't know what that looks like for them. They're just not in touch with themselves, or they don't have an understanding that there is a deeper self that is above and outside of anything that can be prescribed. So it's being aware that it's deeper than all of that stuff, and being aware that there is a pull towards your purpose when you identify it. And of course, people don't identify their purposes super easily. It was a process for me to do that. And then also submitting to that process and submitting to that pull, like that gravity toward it. I feel like I just spoke in such lofty language that it might not really make sense, but sometimes in helping people with their soul work, it really doesn't make sense. It's not really something I can explain. My own experience is that once I became a mother in 2018, I decided I realized no one was going to offer me the career that I wanted. I was going to have to create it myself. And so I started looking into options to pursue entrepreneurship. And in doing that and listening to different entrepreneurs, I started hearing about spiritual concepts, a lot of law of attraction, a lot of mindset. And that is what sent me down the path. Now, I had to go deeper than the law of attraction and deeper than the meditations. Like, meditation is still part of my practice. I still believe law of attraction exists, like it is a law, but it was deeper than wanting things and wanting to be the person to attract things. It became about fulfilling my purpose and surrendering to the process of that. So I initially started out just really focused on entrepreneurship, and then it wasn't too long before I realized I'm not really going to be able to do the entrepreneur thing until I find my purpose. I had this profound moment January 2020 at the gym where I did have awareness of my purpose, and it wasn't something that was totally random. Like, it was, you are supposed to be a coach, but it's not like I hadn't had those inklings all my life. I just didn't know how to hear them, especially given my cultural context around coaching and therapy. I had to learn more about the possibilities before I could see it as a possibility for myself. As I did many things, I learned a little bit about myself. I went deeper. I got freer in my thinking and in my concept of self. I came face to face with my shadow. I came face to face with these things that were holding me back from pursuing my purpose. But in doing so, I was able to improve my life. The biggest change for me was in 2022. I was pregnant. Obviously, I'm always in this process of trying to become greater. Not like be great in the sense of greater than everyone else, but like expand myself. And I'd come to a point with entrepreneurship where I really was ready to give up. And I realized that my pursuit of entrepreneurship had been about rejecting part of myself. I don't know if putting off entrepreneurship opened the space for me to do this, but I began some deep healing work of my codependency, and I gained more understanding about it in such a way that it couldn't have been anything but supernatural. In the continuing healing of the codependency and the protective behaviors, I have been able to improve my life. Like, the way that I am as a mother is no longer about trying to get my husband to love me, trying to make up for not being the perfect mom, running myself into the ground. It's no longer about trying so hard to keep my house clean, although that was part of the journey as well. It's no longer about who I'm not or what I have to be, but it's about being in a healthy place and having good relationships and learning to manage my life instead of beating myself up for not organically knowing how to do it. Even this week, I realized I don't have to cook from scratch every single day. I can make some things ahead of time, like some components ahead of time, or I can chop vegetables and, it's being in a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset. I've come to a place where I no longer feel pressure all the time. I'm no longer driven by anxiety to the point that I can't sit down. And I'm not a person that identifies as anxious, but when I really focused on my house and identifying when it was enough, when I had put enough effort into it, I realized that a lot of the reason I was cleaning was because of this anxiety, because of this innate sense of not enoughness. So I want to help women go along that journey so they can rest in their motherhood and they can honor the role we have as spiritual liaisons for our family. Honor the gift that we have to be a portal to the other side. And I know every mother can't or hasn't given birth, but we are still built in a way to do that. We still have the gifts to do that, even if we haven't physically or can't physically give birth, right? Like, by nature of who we are as women and as mothers, we are gifted in some way. It's sort of like a chaperone from the spiritual to the physical. And I think that there should be more honor in that. And I think we should honor ourselves more than that, which includes taking care of yourself, investing in yourself, and nurturing your spiritual identity and awareness. So if you're interested in having that conversation and going on that journey, please follow me and join me in my Facebook group, which will be linked below. See you soon.